Hello, welcome back. My name is Rainey and I'm here with another Media Mondays. So today we're gonna have a jam-packed episode. I'm gonna be talking about 4 different movies in one episode. So award season is around the corner. I'm in SAG, I'm getting these screeners. People are telling me, you gotta watch this, you gotta watch that. This one's gonna be nominated, this one's gonna... Basically, I've been watching a lot of really great movies, and I just thought, because there's so many and times are moving so fast, I should talk about all of them. So the first one is Rainey's Black Bottom. Now, I was super excited when I heard this was going to be turned into a movie because when I was in college at AMDA, we had classmates that were doing this scene and they were so amazing because it was a play before it was a movie. I have to say, I kind of have mixed reviews on this one. I think that Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman were knockouts. They did great performances. I really fed into them. When it came to Viola Davis, it was so fun to watch her be a diva. She would take up other people's time and manipulate their energy. But when you find out why she does that, you're totally on her side and you're like, yes, girl, do it, because back in the day when Black people didn't have as much power, they had to find creative ways to make sure that they weren't taken advantage of, and that's exactly what her character is doing. So once you find that out, you're like, she's brilliant, she's a star, and she's so talented, she deserves everything she can get out of this career. Now with Chadwick Boseman, unfortunately he's no longer with us, but in this film, you can really see him fighting for his life and putting so much passion into acting. None of his directors of the last few films that he did knew that he was sick because he didn't want to be treated any differently on set. And he committed everything to this role. He seemed skinnier, and I don't know if that was part of the character or if that was really him, but his passion and commitment was definitely there. Because this movie started from a play, they really stuck to the play format, I felt like. And so usually that bores me because plays, when they retain their original format, to me don't lend well to movies because it's mainly characters talking, there isn't a lot of change of environment, and it's more about what people say to each other rather than what's actually happening. This movie wasn't terrible at that. There still were several different locations. It's just each scene went on longer than a typical screenplay would have. So I found myself not completely engaged. This was originally a play by August Wilson, but the film is directed by George C. Wolfe, and the screenplay adaptation is done by Ruben Santiago Hudson. My favorite part of the film was actually the opening scene. It shows what looks like slaves sneaking out at night to go to their own kind of underground club, and Viola Davis is at the front singing her heart out, getting into it. The makeup is crazy, it's super grungy, and people are into it, and it's like the one place they have to go to be themselves, to feel free, to feel like they have a place, and to not feel like slaves. So that was my favorite scene because it had so much life and historical perspective, and it really paid great tribute to the Black community. Okay, moving on to the next film, Devil All the Time. This was crazy. There was so much going on in this film, like, wow. So I first started watching it because I heard it on a podcast and they said it was good. And then once I found out Robert Pattinson was in it, was like, I've got to see this because he's just such a crazy actor. Like, it's just so entertaining to watch him. This was directed by Antonio Campos. He co-wrote it with his brother, Paulo Campos. And let me just say, this is a crazy psychological thriller that doesn't have like a very linear, predictable storyline, I think. You think it's going one way, and then we go to this other level, and then we kind of end on this other level. So they spend a lot of time in the main character's childhood, so you kind of think we're gonna like build that world, but then it's just, they skip around a lot, but it makes sense and it keeps it interesting. Now, I loved Tom Holland's performance. His dialect was on point. I knew him as like the Spider-Man kid, but watching this, I was like, No wonder he's getting all of these roles. He deserves it. He's super talented, very committed, very realistic, and I loved him as a main character. Getting into Robert Pattinson's performance, what I love about watching him is you can see how much he loves acting as he's in a movie, because he's like this close to going too over the top in his performances. He has so much enthusiasm that you can literally see this extra layer of passion that doesn't necessarily belong to his character. And I heard rumor that he neglected to, or rather he declined to have a dialect coach, and so he came up with his dialect all on his own. Like, every character he does, I can't believe it's the same person. He changes his physicality, his voice, his speech patterns. Like, every actor has like these little tics that they do because they're still themselves, and somehow Robert Pattinson just gets rid of all of that. It's so incredible. But he was like such an interesting character because you're really trying to find the humanity and like why he's doing this and who is he really and how does he think about things. And really, at the end of the day, I believed that he existed, but because he didn't show like his humanity very much, I thought it made him an even scarier villain. Okay, third movie is Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this in the comments, so I'm sorry if you disagree. Maybe if I watched it a second time, I would feel differently. But I tend to go on gut instincts and I can be hard to really like grip because I'm very particular. This movie bored me. Now, I know it has like great historical context and deep-seated pain, and I'm not negating that whatsoever. I am just saying I was bored. I watched it in 2 sittings because I couldn't get through it all. And there's definitely scenes that are hard to watch. Nobody wants to see anybody abused or mistreated. But story-wise, you know, it was one of those things where I'm like on my phone, I'm on my computer, and then I'm like, stop, watch the movie. I watch it for a while, and I'm like, okay, it just feels really heavy without me getting emotionally attached, if that makes sense. So I'm feeling badly for these people. I'm aware that this happened. I obviously hate that it happened, but I'm not on the edge of my seat. But also, 2 of my favorite actors are in this film. Daniel Kaluuya, he was in Get Out. And Get Out is like one of my favorite movies of all time, and he's the star of that. Like, it was so good. And here, there was like not a whole lot of facial expressions, personality. I knew that he cared about the girl that he meets, but otherwise, he didn't have me this time. And then also, Lakeith Stanfield, who is so good. He also was in Get Out, but he's also in this insane movie that everyone should watch. It's like this indie no one knows about called Short Term 12. It also has Rami Malek in it. It also has Brie Larson, and that's a movie about foster kids, and oh my god, if you just want to cry for 2 hours, watch that movie. But he was in that, and he broke my heart. I'm sure there's huge fans out there or wouldn't be nominated, but it just didn't work for me. Okay, number 4, Sylvie's Love. I love this one. It was so cute. Like, it kept coming up as commercials and stuff for me when I was watching other things, and I was like, eh. But then I found out it was a potential nominee, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. So cute, so like almost realistic. You know, it's like a rom-com with so many twists. I loved that it just didn't follow the typical format of girl meets guy, and then they separate, and then they miss each other, and then they come back. Like, I just loved that they skipped that. I mean, they did follow some rom-com stereotypes, but this is more of the romantic without the comedy part. So a romantic drama. It was written, directed, and produced by Eugene Ash. And I always think that when someone has that much control, the vision can be so much clearer. I loved how much they loved each other, but also how things just wouldn't work out, kind of like they do in real life. It was just as complicated. They would lie to each other. They were imperfect. They were both super cute. Nnamdi Asomugha, hope I'm saying that right, and Tessa Thompson were such a great couple, so convincing. They both were pure, like their spirits were pure, so whenever they would make mistakes, you forgave them right away because you're like, but they care, they're in love, they're trying to do the right thing. So they just were beautifully written, beautifully acted, and yeah, that was a really easy watch. It was very sweet and heartfelt, and I loved that there was like all these different phases in the story, so every time you think it's kind of wrapping up, there's something else thrown at them, and it's never boring. And if you watched my video on Bridgerton, you know that I love Regé-Jean Page, and he was in this film, so I was like, oh my god, look at him, like he's making things happen for himself. He had a super small role, like he was barely on the screen. He had a few scenes with a few lines, but I was like, dang, if he can do Bridgerton where he's got like the posture and he's a duke, and then he comes here and he's all like, you know, different posture and a lower class and kind of like gritty and different dialect. I mean, now he's not in Britain anymore, he's definitely in America, and seamless transition, completely seamless, so kudos to him. All right, thanks for watching my review on these 4 amazing films. Let me know if you agree or disagree, if I'm out of my mind about Judas and the Black Messiah and I should watch it again. And tune back in next Monday for another Media Mondays. Bye!